Hello, YouTube. So, I want to talk about this concept. I heard it's a Bush Radical. I've been watching a lot of his videos. You should go follow his channel. It's good shit. One second. Sorry, weed cough. Uh, he said something that made me think, and I want to talk about it. And he called his car a motorcycle that he could sleep in. And that is essentially what I have built or am building with the minivan camper that I'm going to work on. Uh, I was watching his video on painting his car, which is very me. I like his channel because it's a lot of stuff that is the way that I would do things. It's not like the right way to do things. It's the best way to do it for the least money. And I'm all about that shit when it comes to anything. If you've ever seen anything I've done gunsmithing wise or blacksmithing wise on Instagram or YouTube or wherever, you know for a fact that like I am not about doing things the right way. The right way is not very interesting to me. Anyone can build something with $10,000 worth of equipment or whatever. To make your own tooling to build the thing, now that is a challenge. And I do buy some equipment. Don't get me wrong. Some things are just better to buy, but like some things I bought because I had lots of money. Like a 2x72 belt sander. The best way to get one is to build one. Okay, and it's the same thing with this vehicle that we're about to talk about. This vehicle does not exist. I bought a $2,000 Honda Odyssey, 2004 Honda minivan. Uh, I bought it for $2,000, and it's on a salvage title. It has a bunch of shit wrong with it. It's had a bunch of stuff replaced. It's got a brand new transmission in it. A lot of other shit. Okay, it doesn't have a front bumper cover. It already has roof rack rails on it, and I bought the crossbars for cheap on Amazon. I ripped the seats and shit out of the middle. The back end seat is stuck on. I'm gonna have to cut it out, and once I get it out, I'm gonna figure out some sort of a way to bolt in some 2x4s to the floor to give me a place to start building. I'm gonna build a wooden subframe and deck it in plywood, and then put a mattress in there, and then I'm gonna build some plywood cabinets in the ass end of it for a kitchen, and it's gonna have space built into it for a fridge and a solar battery, and then I'm gonna put a solar panel and a roof rack on the roof. I'd like to do like a cargo pod thing, and that honestly that may be the route I end up going. I may end up buying a folding solar panel and a cargo pod because that it would really probably work better, and then I could have the 200-watt hard panel I bought to use for outdoor kitchens and cabins and shit. Uh, but I bought a 200-watt Renogy hard panel. Sorry, I'm playing with coins. That probably sounds really bad on radio. Um, I bought a 200-watt Renogy hard panel on Amazon. I think it was $200 before the Russia invaded the Ukraine and all that shit happened. And my plan was just to bolt that onto the roof rack somehow. I was thinking about getting some square tubing that is perforated with holes. You can get it at Lowe's and Home Depot, and making some things to like bolt to the existing roof rack and have some real shit to mount to. Um, Other than that, I also wanted to put an awning on the side of it. I think that would be handy. A few other things I want to do to it, but basically, I want it to be a two-passenger van with a bed and a kitchen in the back. And my thing is, once you have this, you could go anywhere that there's roads and just park, live there. And there's a hell of a lot of places in the U.S. where, like, if you have Starlink on this bitch, which is what I'm going to do eventually, I want to have Starlink for my cabin, and you could take it in the van on the road. You know, you go to the Grand Canyon and park, and just, you have your outdoor office You know, you bring along a table and a laptop, and you have Starlink. You know, you and a significant other could, camp out for a week anywhere in the United States, and this van cost $2,000. Now, admittedly, I got a good deal. I scored. You could score too. I'm going to tell you how to score. But even if you had to pay full price for this van, that would be like $6,000, maybe $5,000. That's not that much money. Now, this is how I scored the van, and this is honestly this is what I'd recommend you do. Is I was going to a used car lot to look at another van, and a couple had just bought that van, and they had traded in this piece of shit Honda Odyssey. The van I was looking at was 4-wheel drive Toyota Sienna with some miles on it, but it was white. I didn't like the color, and it was $10,000. I was like, I don't like any of that really, but I like the 4-wheel drive, and we might be able to live with the rest. Let's go feel him out, and if he'll take 6 or 8, maybe we could talk. Because 4-wheel drive, I'm willing to pay more. But while we were talking, I was just like, well, since you already sold that one, what's that gold thing over there? Like, oh, that's the thing they traded in. You wouldn't be interested in that. I'm like, yeah, show it to me. He showed it to me. I was like, out of curiosity, what would you take for this? He's like, well, they just traded it in and haven't done anything to it. If you really want it, I'll give it to you for $2,000. I'm like, that's pretty fair. He's like, no shit. I was like, let me think on that. And cough a second. And I left that day and I slept on it and basically drove back the next day at like noon and bought that car. I think I gave him $200 or whatever and had to come back with the rest because they didn't take fucking cards. But it was a good car for that much money. Like with the new transmission and everything that had been done to it, basically they had just ran up the insurance bill on this thing all the way to the max over the last couple of years, fixing all the shit that went wrong on it. And then she hit a curb and they totaled it. And like, I don't give a fuck about the shit that's broken on it. I'm not even going to put the bumper back on it. I'm actually seriously thinking about putting a winch and some other shit up on the front anyway. And like the bumper's exposed, it'll be real easy. I might just leave it like that. I think that's the most elegant, simple solution. Really, is just to fucking put a winch on the exposed bumper and maybe mount some lights and shit there. I'll see what I can figure out. But like right now, it's a gold Honda Odyssey that's kind of beat to shit. And my plan is to do the Bush Radical painting method that he showed in one of his videos. That was exactly the method that I was telling Angry American that I bet would work, except I was going to do spray paint. And honestly, this is one of those where I tip my hat to Bush Radical. He has been doing fucked up shit to cars and other things in the woods longer than I have. Uh, he bought Rust-Oleum in a can and a foam roller. In thinking about it, it's genius. It gives you a very high level of control, and like it's not that hard to roll paint. And those foam rollers work really, really well. I've used those a bunch on houses. And like the thing with this paint job is this isn't going to last forever. But like if you have to do this once every, 2 to 5 years, it costs $20 to do this Rust-Oleum roll-on paint job that Bush Radical video was about. And I think just to not have that car be gold, I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to take his tip too and do gloss black. It'll pretty much look like a factory black car, and it'll be something that I can touch up as needed, and it'll be a cheap way to go and not have that car be gold. I might have to change the name then. Because right now I've been calling it Blondie. I guess it can't be Blondie if it's not blonde anymore. The uh, the other thing about this thing to me is it gets like 25 miles to the gallon, and it costs $2,000. Right now, that's pretty good on the gas mileage for fucking how cheap it is. Okay, you can get better than that, but like to get better than that, you're spending probably 25 to $35,000. Really, like there's my car that I sold got like on a good day on the highway 17, on a bad day in town 12, 10, something like that. It was a Toyota FJ Cruiser with a V6, and I got 28 grand for that car. The car market's crazy right now, and I know that's not a gas mileage thing. That's a specific, that was a collector car thing. Got it. But at the same time, when I went shopping after that, I went looking for a replacement car, and I was figuring on spending most of that money. I looked around at what I could get, and I was like, so basically nothing. Like I could have spent all of my money and had a newer Toyota that did get better gas mileage. But I didn't want to spend all of that money on that. And at the price level that I was looking at spending, like 10 to 15 grand, I found a couple of Toyota SUVs that basically would have been downsizing in the car's capabilities and whatever to get better gas mileage, but it still wouldn't have been a thing that I could actually live out of. And this was what I was looking for. And like the more I looked, the more I became convinced that I wanted to do this crazy minivan thing. I've been thinking about this for years, and I think the most underappreciated vehicle in the world is the minivan. Think about it. Like everyone hates them. That makes them cheap. And like I'm not saying you should do this with everything in life, but for this thing, you should definitely at least hear me out. Because everyone hates them and they're cheap right now, they're available. They have good cargo capacity that is covered and inside, but yet they are a small car like vehicle and not a big truck like vehicle. And this is basically the advantages to this over a regular van. And there's lots of 4x4 minivans. And I would encourage you to get a four-wheel drive minivan if you're going to do this. I cheaped out basically, and if you have to cheap out, you can. And like if especially if you put a winch on this thing and have tools hanging on the fucking roof rack, there's no place that you're going to get stuck in this car, especially if there's two of you. My plan, again, I've said this a couple times now, is basically this is a base camp vehicle, and you could hang a dirt bike maybe on the roof rack or put it inside, maybe put a tarp in there and put it on the bed or some shit. Or you could have a second person with a second vehicle and have like a Jeep or something. And that's like your thing to go out and play around in or whatever. And you're driving the fucking like chuck wagon, basically. You have a place to crash and a place to cook food and get out of the weather if it rains and that kind of shit. And honestly, for like off-roading and shit, I think this vehicle is underappreciated in its capabilities. Especially, like I said, with that Jeep with it and winch and tow strap and shit. There's definitely nowhere that you couldn't go with a second vehicle to pull you out of spots. And this thing costs $2,000. Why would you spend $8 billion on some camper thing or whatever when you could go buy a fucking shitty Honda Odyssey and go to Lowe's and have the world as your oyster to build the Mad Max camper mobile of fucking doom? That's what I'm doing. It's going to be custom and cool and exactly what I want. And basically, if you copy my build, it's going to be basic and easy. I'm not going to do anything unnecessary. And that's the thing about this is I'm going to make this to where if this van ever dies, I will hunt down another cheap Honda Odyssey of a similar vintage and just move the shit over, hopefully. You know, I might even build the shit that way, like build it in sections that bolt together to form a substructure, and make it to where you could pop it out of one Honda and into another Honda. That way, eventually, when this van dies, I can just go find another one, because there's a shit ton of these. There's always going to be a shit ton of these, and you should have another vehicle, more than likely, right? Like, say you like bikes and you have a motorcycle or whatever. This is a perfect second vehicle to a motorcycle. This is a motorcycle that you can sleep in. That's exactly what the title says. The cool part about going camping with a motorcycle is you can go anywhere, go off road, whatever, pull over, pitch a tent, and just go camping. This thing is as close as you can get to that with a lot more capability. And like, if you're going to have a motorcycle as your primary vehicle, having something with cargo capacity that is out of the weather as your second vehicle is cool, because like, if you go to like drive around in the winter, maybe you want to stay warm, or if you go to drive around in the summer, maybe you want to stay air conditioned, depending on where you are and whatever. Or maybe, hey, you need to move, and like, you could take the mattress out of this thing and now you have a little box van. So like, this is not like, oh, hey, this is a cool vehicle to go camping in or whatever. This is a cool vehicle for life. And like, eventually, I would like to figure out a way to like convert these to fucking, Tesla batteries and motors or some crazy shit. Like, I want to get real mad scientist with this fucking thing. If I start doing those kind of videos, I bet this channel really takes off. I might need help to do that kind of shit though. But I have at least one person that would help with such things, and maybe two. I bet I could convince my buddy to help me. Uh, I want to mad scientist some car shit. I'm tired of buying cars from fucking Detroit. I'm just gonna start making my own vehicles and like loosely follow the regulations. Say fuck it, like, we be pirates now. You know, what do you do when they make it illegal to live? Pirate shit. Maybe that's why I'm clacking fucking silver. Like, I feel like a pirate more and more. Uh, that's what this is starting to call for. Is some of us are just going to have to break away and go do our own thing, and I think that's what they want. The more I look at this, I think we're going into Brave New World, and the powers that be like those of us that are like this and want us to do this and are forcing us to be more and more independent, so that they don't have to take care of us at all and they can focus on the fucking deadbeats, basically, until that whole thing implodes on itself and then they all kill each other and then we're left alone camping in the woods to maybe restart civilization. I think their goal is to have us essentially be the farmers that survive, that they get to rule over. And like, honestly, of the plans that they could have at this point, that's like the bright shiny one. That's hopeful. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this video. If you go search camper minivan conversions on YouTube, there's a bunch of videos on that stuff. As I do more to my van, I'm gonna do videos on it. I've bought the wood, and basically I have saws, but they're in storage, and the storage I've lost the keys to, and I'm doing that dance right now, and I'm trying to take care of some other shit. And fuck, I need to ship a knife. It just lots of shit, and working on that van is relatively low on the list of priorities, but it's about to become very much higher on the list of priorities. So look forward to that. Thanks for watching, and I think I'm going to call this van the Mom Mobile of Doom. Has a nice ring to it.